Good morning, student. I, Dr. Sanjana Sharma, welcome you to the class. Students, in our last classes, we discussed life and achievements of famous Victorian novelist Charles Dickens, and I also introduced you to the novel Oliver Twist that is there in our syllabus. Students, today we are going to analyze chapter 1 of this novel. Students, when this novel opens, we see that in the first chapter, the protagonist of the novel, Oliver Twist, is born. And we also see that it is an occasion unmarked by any sign of happiness. An unfortunate and unmarried young woman has been brought to a workhouse after collapsing on the street, and next day she gives birth to a boy. The birth is attended only by a hired doctor and an old woman who work there in that place. The young mother asks to see her child and then dies. It appears to the doctor and the old woman that the infant will not survive. The doctor departs for home and the old woman dresses the baby in dirty and well-used clothes. Students, as the novel opens with the birth of the main character, the author makes it clear that he is going to tell the story of Oliver Twist in chronological order so that the reader is a witness to his development. Students, during Dickens' lifetime, England was undergoing great social reforms. Urban and industrial growth was taking place, but at the same time, they were creating far-reaching social problems. The gap between the upper and lower class was unbreachable. There were laws to assist poor and infirm, but they were inadequate and outdated. Students, the Victorian workhouse was an institution created to house the poor, the old, and the orphaned. People unable to care for themselves were sent to these workhouses for relief. And these workhouses were disorganized and mismanaged. Conditions in these places were atrocious. Students, with Oliver Twist, Charles Dickens was drawing attention to the deplorable condition in the poor law institutions. It is in one of these workhouses that Oliver Twist is born and left orphaned. Charles Dickens doesn't give us the name of the town or the name of the workhouse where Oliver is born, and he also doesn't write the date of his birth. Oliver's entrance into the world is not a joyous event. The child is already disadvantaged at his birth. Through his mastery of subtle irony and understatement, Dickens is able to comment effectively on the horrible social conditions prevailing at that time in Britain. In describing the birth of Oliver, whose existence is so precarious in the first moments of life, Dickens indirectly shows the reader how unfortunate the infant's circumstances are. As I have told you that he is attended only by an indifferent doctor and an old pauper who is herself an inmate of the workhouse. Oliver draws his first breaths. The reality of situation has been emphasized. Oliver instead has only the indifference of the doctor who sees the newborn child as troublesome, and the woman who is a drunkard, incompetence of the old woman, the child is born in the presence of doctor and that incompetent old woman. When Oliver's mother asks to see her baby before dying, the old woman scolds her for her negative attitude. The old woman says, "Think what it is to be a mother," as if to remind the dying woman of the many joys and pleasure that exist in being a workhouse mother. But Dickens gives us a more accurate picture of what raising children in poverty is like. The old woman mentioned in the first chapter has had 13 children, but only 2 have survived in the squalor of the workhouse. Students, it is an unpleasant reminder of the class of life to which Oliver has been born, a life in which he will be left to the tender mercies of wardens and overseers, with the suggestion that perhaps the child might have cried the louder if he had been aware of this. The chapter ends. Students, this much for today. We will continue the discussion over the novel Oliver Twist and its analysis in our coming classes. Thank you very much.